Hello. I'm going to show you now particular methods of how to render. So this is going to be a part of a series of videos. First of all, I'll show you some different techniques. Okay, so I'm currently using a Derwent Studio 24 pack. I've just picked one color for the time being. Okay, and my color for choice today is a deep vermilion. Sorry, not vermilion, vermilion. Okay, that's number 14 of the studio set. However, you can apply these same techniques that I'm going to show you today, though, to other quality pencils. Okay, so I'm not going to be a snob in terms of the pencils for these particular three. Okay, later on I might choose to use different pencils for different purposes. Okay, so let's start off with what I see generally in some classes when people first start to render. Okay, and it's pretty much something like this. Right, and you're laying down colour really hard right from the start. Okay, all right, and you're colouring outside the lines. Okay, and some of you aren't even looking at the page when you're doing it. All right, so that's not the way to render. Okay, now a better way to render is now at all times I want you to have a nice sharp pencil for this. Okay, because we generally don't use the tip of our lead. You'll be quite surprised about that. Okay, so a lot of you, when you start sort of rendering rendering itself and you start thinking about it, you tend to render like this. Now I'm just going to write a note here. Much better. Okay. Better. Again. All right, so we're going to have a few stages here. All right, so let's dive into this one. So some of you, the next stage is this. You have a sharp pencil and you start to really think about what type of, your technique. And a lot of you, and I'm just going to zoom out a little bit just so you can see my wrist here. Okay, and I'm just going to focus again. Okay, that's better. All right, so a lot of you tend to use your wrist when you're rendering, and this is what happens when you use your wrist when you're rendering, particularly with a sharp lead. You tend to do this. Okay. Now you notice too that a lot of my rendering here, it's going in an arc. Okay, because I'm using my wrist. All right. So if I were to draw something nice and big, you'll see that there's this nice big arc occurring, and we actually do see that when we look at your work. All right. So that is a better method there. All right. Now you notice here that I'm drawing lighter. Okay, and I can come across later on and build up my tone. Okay, it's not as claggy. I call this claggy and like it's got a real thick waxiness to it. Okay, all right. So this is better. Let's start moving on again to a better again. So I'm just going to sharpen my lead again, and this is where we start using our entire arm. So I'm just bending at my elbow. Okay, or I'm using my entire shoulder. Okay. All right, so let's see how this works. Now I'm going to introduce my finger here as a stopper to where I'm going to start to finish off rendering. So let's do this now. Okay. Now I'm just taking my time and I'm using, you notice that I've changed the position of my lead. I'm now gripping the pencil from right at the back of it, and I'm using this type of holding method, okay? So I'm just going to tuck this bottom finger in like that. Okay, so the reason why I do that is because now I'm going to be using this entire surface of that lead, okay? And this needs some practice. I'm going to use my elbow now, as the pivot point, okay? And I'm going to use my finger here to guide as a stopper. And this takes a bit of practice. And you'll see here that I'm building up my tone, okay? So I might go over it again to build up my tone. It's not all a part of actually putting in really dark amounts down first, okay? Might come around here too to really finesse that edge. Okay, you notice that I'm bringing up off the page, okay? And the same thing here, I'm flicking up as well. Okay, so that is better again. You see the transition here. We've gone from waxiness, gunkiness, to a bit better, to a lot more smoother now, okay? All right, now I can continue building up my tone, still going over it, okay, applying a little bit more force to it. But you notice that it's evenly rendered, okay? So hopefully that helps you. Okay, now I'm going to show you now much better. Okay, so it's using the same technique to this. I'm just going to sharpen my lead again. All right, and I'm going to show you much better. So it's using this same technique. However, I'll show you a different thing that I'm going to do with this one. So I'm going to first of all start rendering in nice and light. Okay. All right, and I start flicking up to get those edges in, to make it nice and evenly toned. Flick, flick, flick. So flick up from the edges. So you start off from the edge and you flick up. Okay, and you should get like a nice even tone through there. Hopefully you can just make that out. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to rotate my page around at a 45-degree angle. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing this is to first of all get rid of this directional pigment. Okay, so I'm going to draw again, render in again from this other angle. So I'm doing this at a 45-degree angle here from the original laydown of tone. And I go across here to continue on filling in those spots where I wasn't able to fill it in from before. Okay, now if you want nice even tone, really even tone, you see that you might just make it out. I'll just zoom in here. You might just make it out that it's picking up the texture of the surface that I'm drawing on, okay? So if you want a really smooth tone, draw on a smooth surface underneath it, okay? You might want to start going in this direction now to bring up more tone, add more pigment to it, okay? So just like what the Impressionists did and a lot of other historical art figures do, and as well as oil painting, as well as product designers, it's all a part of building up tone, okay? You add more pigment, right, gradually, not just putting it down, laying it down real hard. And you see here, I've got nice amount of tone being built up here. I'm approaching it from different angles, okay? And you'll see that the surface that I'm drawing on now doesn't exactly make much of an effect anymore because I've gone over and I've moved my page around. Okay? And it's all a part of taking your time building all this up. Right? So that is much better. So we've gone from waxiness to better, better again, and much better. Okay, so this is the first part of the series. Yes, and that's it for now. Thank you. Bye.